Sports Counterpoints podcast back again. Thank you all for listening and being down with us. Another episode. It's February 16th, 2022. Today we'll be talking about the Super Bowl. Football season's officially over. I'm sad because I don't care about these other sports right now. I can't even lie. So we'll talk about the Super Bowl and recap of that, including some of the star players and Matt Stafford and what we think some of the futures may be. We'll also talk about a little bit of NBA as there was a blockbuster trade, and Ben Simmons is actually out of purgatory in basketball terms. So let's see what happens. So yeah, Super Bowl, man. Season's over. Super Bowl 56 is done. That's it for this season. A lot of craziness happened, but the Rams are victorious. What you think, B?
Well, what I think is, I believe somebody said take Bengals in the 4.5 points, and that somebody was me, and they were right. Anyways, this was an awesome game. I really enjoyed it. I thought, like I said, I thought it was going to be a field goal game. I thought it was going to be a close, hard-fought game, and that's what it was. I thought it was super interesting. I mean, OBJ didn't even play a full half, and he already had 52 yards and a touchdown on 2 receptions. He looked unstoppable. Or I should say, he looked like he had a matchup that was ready to expose the Bengals, and what could have been there. But good game. We were kind of joking before that Matt Stafford will give people opportunities to get picks. He had 2 of them. I don't know that either one of them were his fault. One of them was the right thing to do on a 3rd and long. You throw it into the end zone and take a 50-50 ball. The worst that happens is they get the ball in the 20 on a touchback from a pick, and that's what happened. So, I don't think there's anything there. And the other one was right off the hands of his wide receiver. If you can touch it, you can catch it. But either way, he played, very well towards the end. There's been a lot made of that, of whether or not that was a no-look pass on the big play. I've seen now about 40 different angles. Apparently, they had 27 different cameras on him on that one play only, because everyone seems to have another unseen angle, like it's the Bruder film. But it looked like a no-look pass to me. I mean, he certainly looked off the corner and then threw back exactly where the corner was. It was a great pass play, great completion. That drive was outstanding. Cooper Kupp is at another level. I didn't like the pass interference call. I thought it was ticky-tack. I thought that they looked at Cooper Kupp and said there's no way he can't be open, and gave a penalty based on the fact that he wasn't open, more so than that it was pass interference or offensive holding, which if it was offensive holding, it was within 5 yards, so you could have a little bit of contact, and I thought that should have been a no call. On the last drive by the Cincinnati Bengals, I just don't understand the play call on 4th and 1. It makes no sense to me. Zach Taylor's a way smarter football coach than I'll ever be, so he had an idea. But you had already seen the perfect play call on 4th and 1. Cooper Kupp did it on the drive before, where he came around, you put the ball into your playmaker's hands, and you trust that the best offensive player on your team can get 1 yard. So there were 2 plays I really didn't understand. The play before that, where they ran Pirine and Aaron Donald ate him up like he was breakfast or a snack. And then the next play where they they let Aaron Donald run up the middle, but they didn't try and do a play to the outside with, I thought they should have handed off to Chase the same way they handled the Cooper Kupp. It's a sad way to go down, but the Cincinnati Bengals boxed way, way, way outside of their weight class this season, doing more than anybody could have expected or wanted. They played tough football. Super Bowl hangovers are a real thing, but I think Cincinnati can come back. Short of that, good game, good football. Aaron Donald proved that he is right now, and certainly of this generation, the best defensive player in the game. There is some conversation about whether he's the best ever. It's kind of hard to supplant LT, but if there's someone who might be able to do that in conversation, it's probably someone like Donald. That's all. Jason, what you got?
You had the spread right. I had the total right. I didn't think it would be high scoring. They definitely went under 48 points in this game. But this game played out exactly how I thought. I thought the margin would be bigger, and I really honestly believe if OBJ did not get hurt, that would have been the case. I thought they had a good matchup problem against the Bengals defense with OBJ, and I really thought he would have went up for over 100 yards and a couple touchdowns in the game, but he got hurt, and the Rams could not run the ball and they struggled to score points after he got hurt. On the flip side, I know you're talking about that pass interference call. I just text you and Glenn. Is this the call you were talking about, or was it another one? I'm not sure. Oh, it was a different one?
No, it's the end zone play.
Okay. Got you. Okay, got you on that one. This game pretty much played out the way I thought it would. I thought the Rams defense would shut down the Bengals offense. Just looking at the stats, the Bengals went 3 for 14 on third down and 1 for 3 on fourth down. Every time the Rams needed to stop, they got it. I figured that was going to be the game, and it looks like it was. And when you have a more dominant defensive line than your offensive line, your quick passing game has to be good. And I mean, that quick passing game was bad. It was really, really bad statistics wise all across the board. I'm not going to get into it, but it was really bad, the short passing game. So they couldn't take advantage of that as well. But like you said, this is not a knock against the Bengals. They boxed up all season. They'll have a harder schedule next year, so they'll have to, prove it. They can't sleep on it. Nobody will be sleeping on them next year. But also, I think if you're a casual fan of the game, I would say you root for the Bengals. If you're a football fan, I say you root for the Rams, and here's why. Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers got a new quarterback last year, Tom Brady, and won the Super Bowl. The Rams got a new quarterback this year and won the Super Bowl, and they added, of course, OBJ and Von Miller. It depends on his skill level. I think he's washed up. Some people think he's still decent. But in either way, both teams knew they had to make a change at the quarterback position and maybe some personnel changes as well. And they won the Super Bowl. And the other NFL teams, like especially my team, the 49ers, should look at this and not want to stand pat with what they have, but yet always look to try to get better and add more talent. And it worked out for the Rams. So I'm happy that the Rams were aggressive and it paid off. So maybe other teams will do the same thing as well. Lastly, I think I don't think the Rams will be sort of a dynasty. I don't see them coming back next year and doing this. I think this pretty much, puts a feather in the cap in Matt Stafford's career and Sean McVay's career. I mean, I know there's speculation that McVay might retire. I don't know if that's true or not, but it was good that the Rams made the decisions they made during the season, and it's good to see it pay off. Even though I'm not a Rams fan, I'm a 49er fan, I like to see aggressiveness, and I like to see teams go for it. Glenn, what about you?
1 second before you go, Glenn. I wanted to ask you a question about the whole offensive matchup, because I'm looking at the stats, and I looked at them before.
Yep.
Total yards, 313 to 305. Total time of possession, 30 minutes and 47 seconds to 29 minutes and 13 seconds.
Yep.
The only two turnovers in the game, both of which were by the Rams, none by the Bengals. Yards per play, Bengals have more yards per play on 5 yards per play as opposed to 4.7 yards per play. So I did not think in any way, shape, or form that the Rams defense, which played exceptionally well down the stretch when they needed to, dominated the entire game with the Bengals.
3 for 14.
Statistically, it would be difficult to see it that way when literally every offensive stat was the same between both the two teams. The only 2 turnovers by a defense were created by the Bengals. Go ahead.
Right, but remember, OBJ, when he went down, that whole offense and game, it changed. That whole game plan changed.
I'm just saying the stats don't support that it was. I understand that may have been different had OBJ been there. He played outstanding. He had 52 yards and 2 catches and 1 touchdown.
Yeah, pre and post OBJ is a difference.
Yeah, but he wasn't there.
And he was there, right.
And the Aaron Donald's defense got points scored on them just at the same rate. Now they stiffened up when they needed to. That's what you're supposed to do for a good defense.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald is, like I said, the best defensive player on the planet. But I thought statistically this was a very evenly matched game across the board. And I don't even fault the Rams for the 2 turnovers because again, I defended them and said one is basically a punt. That's what you want your person to do on third and 14. It's throw one in the end zone and give yourself a 50-50 ball. And the other one, it touched right off the wide receiver's hand. So I don't blame Stafford for that.
Now, before you go, Glenn, much like basketball, it's situational football. It's when you get those stops. You don't have to be a great defensive team to win the NBA championship or NFL Super Bowl. You got to get stops when you need to get stops. And the Rams got them when they needed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's also like quarterbacking, which is why Jimmy G just has to go. Situationally, when you need him, it doesn't come through. Situation when you need Tom Brady, a lot of times he comes through, which is why he has the rings. And that's the difference. I definitely get what you're saying, though. With the stat-wise, I definitely get that.
Yeah, because earlier you had made a point that statistically it showed. Like I thought both teams played a very, very solid game, and I thought the best player on the field played the best football when they needed to. That was Aaron Donald. He needed to step up. He's by far the most talented guy. He's the only first ballot Hall of Famer that's currently on the field, in my opinion. He busted through the middle and made two of what are being called two of the greatest clutch plays in a row to win a Super Bowl ever, right? So, the best did what the best does. Glenn, take it away.
There's not too much left to say it. That I think you guys, you said it. There was it was a good game. It was a good end to the season. We had some scoring involved. Both teams played pretty well. I didn't see anything that was super glaring that beyond what you guys said. I thought Joe Burrow has a bright future. I'm not one of those people that thinks it's a guarantee they're back in the AFC Championship next year. It's just hard to do. What the Chiefs are doing right now is, I think, possibly overlooked because of Mahomes' greatness and how Tyreek Hill's been and Andy Reid, but it's not common. It doesn't happen a lot. So, it'd be great for them, right? Great for Cincinnati. I think they'll be a competitive team for sure. But like you mentioned, Coop, their schedule's going to be different. There's more to it now, so we'll see. We'll see what they can do. But the Rams deserved it, man. The parade looked nice. LA weather was beautiful all weekend. A little bit of wind, but it was cool where we're at. Looked like it was really nice for the parade, and everybody was enjoying. So there's really nothing hats off to the Rams. You know what I mean? The city of LA is excited about it. So this is a good game.
And one thing we were talking about earlier in the playoffs is that the AFC has a disproportionate amount of outstanding quarterbacks. And there's even the possibility that Rodgers goes into that group. So it's unfortunate to be able to have to say this. I think the Bengals were a really good team this year. They played above their weight class. They made it to the Super Bowl, and congratulations to them. And there's literally no guarantee that they even get to the AFC Championship anytime in the next 3-4 years. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are going to be good. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, as long as Patrick Mahomes decides to play football instead of throwing the ball to their team like he did in the second half, they're going to be really good. If Aaron Rodgers were to end up on an AFC team, whatever team that's going to be, they're going to be really good. There's a lot of talent in the AFC right now. There's definitely a waiting, especially when you talk about quarterbacks. And so it'll be interesting to see if they're even able to mount the kind of comeback. I don't worry too much about them against good teams. They had a decent record throughout the season against good teams. So having a first place schedule won't be too bad, but it certainly takes a little bit more out of you to play those games. What they need is health. If Mixon can stay healthy, and if Chase can stay healthy, and if Burrow, who now had a sprained MCL and will spend another offseason rehabbing, last offseason for a torn ACL, this time for a sprained MCL. If they can be healthy and they can hopefully add a player or two on defense, they'll be a good team to watch, but no guarantees.
Yeah, my last point, what they need is offensive line. I think they gave up 6 sacks in Super Bowl and 9 against Tennessee. They definitely need a line. 7. Thank you. They definitely need a line. My last point on this is the whole Jared Goff, Matt Stafford thing. I wish people would just finally put this to rest. One thing that people just don't seem to understand is that when you get a guy as talented as Matt Stafford, what that brings to a team, it's confidence. Jared Goff never brought that kind of confidence and that kind of swagger to the Rams. Matt Stafford did. Even when he was messing up and throwing interceptions, the players never thought they were going to lose this game or it was going to go down here. They knew Matt Stafford could make a play and pull them through. And that's what bringing a Tom Brady, not putting Tom Brady and Matt Stafford in the same category, but that's what bringing a Tom Brady or bringing a Matt Stafford does. You cannot quantify or, measure when a team believes in a quarterback. I mean, the 49ers believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not as talented as either one of those guys. But if you listen to teammates, they all swear by Jimmy Garoppolo. They believe he's going to get it done. So confidence is, and that's one of the reasons why they didn't want to make a change at quarterback this year. Confidence is something, like I said, when the team has it, you can do extraordinary things or great things. And like I said, the Rams won the Super Bowl. Congratulations to them. That's my last point.
Yeah, no, I want to jump in on that because I've been part of the same conversations that you've been related to Goff versus Stafford, and everything that you said is spot on. When you look at the numbers this year versus any other year, I mean, Matthew Stafford was number 3 in passing yards with 4,800, with a quarterback rating of 102.9, amongst the top 4 or 5 in the league. Jared Goff was number 20 with 3,200 yards, so almost 1,600 yards lower. He had a lower average on attempt, so that means it's not whether the guy caught it or not. It's just a matter of where he threw it. So even on attempt, he wasn't doing it. And he had a quarterback rating of 91.5. Respectable, but not good enough to have been a replacement for Matt Stafford and made it to the Super Bowl. It's almost laughable that some people can't see and understand the difference between a Matt Stafford playing on a team and a Jared Goff playing on a team. People, one valid point that someone, one of our group made was that, well, I didn't hear anything about Matt Stafford being this great when he was with the Detroit Lions. You don't hear about anybody being great when the Detroit Lions because that talent is wasted. But people who knew quarterbacks and people who understood how talent works always thought highly of Matt Stafford. There was a reason why there was a buzz around the idea that Matt Stafford could get traded from the Lions to any other team. And when the minute Matt Stafford got traded to the Rams, everybody, including you and me, Jason, started saying, this is a big deal. This is the kind of trade that makes a difference because Matt Stafford has the talent that if you put a team around him, he can go and do things like win a Super Bowl. And to that point, you and I on this side of the conversation and other folks on the other side of the conversation, there was like, well, Goff has gotten them to the game. They didn't win. And Goff has gotten them to the NFC Championship. Argument could be made that was all Todd Gurley. But even if you want to give them that argument, and even if you want to say the only way that they could have done better is by winning the Super Bowl, guess what? That's what Matt Stafford did, proving the point that when you have somebody like a Tom Brady, and yes, you're right, we don't need to compare Tom Brady and Matt Stafford. They're not in the same class. But when you have a talented quarterback that goes to a team that's pretty close, it makes a really big difference. And that's what Matt Stafford did this year. There really isn't a good and qualified argument as to why Stafford is not leaps and bounds better than Goff. And again, I don't wish I hope Goff loses 2 games a year, right?
To the Vikings, right? Yeah.
To the Vikings.
Right.
He could beat the Bears, he can beat the Packers, but he can't lose he can't lose enough to the Vikings for me. But he's just not at that level, and he never developed into that guy, and that's the reason why he got traded. Yeah. If he was that good, Sean McVay would have been like, we can win with him.
Right. I think I remember telling you guys, I know I told you guys when he got drafted, I was like, I didn't even know he was a first-round prospect. I saw him at Cal. There was nothing about him that screamed first round. Matt Stafford was a number 1 high school quarterback and a number 1 college quarterback. He was always a good player. So, I'm not a Matt Stafford fan, but, good for him. Good for him that he won. But I'm done on this subject.
Mic drop. Hey, let's talk about some of the other guys that were on the field for the Super Bowl. Aaron Donald, and some people think he might retire. I just can't see it, but obviously Sean McVay.
Man, that tequila was in his veins today. He was like, "Oh, let's run it back. Ain't nobody retiring."
Yeah. No, I can't. I totally agree with you, Glenn. I mean, Aaron Donald is still playing outstanding football, still at the top of his earning career. He'll be able to make money going forward. It seems to me like after winning it, all the talk about, McVay and whether he might retire is starting to kind of dwindle down a little bit. I think I think they're anxious to see if they can bring this team back and do something with it. I'm not saying they will,
Right.
but I absolutely understand that feeling. I mean, it worked for Tom Brady, right? Like Tom Brady had won the Super Bowl, and he's like, let's give it one more time, and came this close. And then it was okay. We've taken our shot. We got salary cap problems. The GM of the Rams is going to have to work some more salary cap magic, which he's been able to do before. But and then my team stole his O coordinator. So I'm hoping that we might have made an impact on the Rams. It won't be by beating them, but it'll be by stealing what they need, right? Stealing the Gatorade and bringing it over to our side of the football field.
Yeah, Aaron Donald is probably. I don't look at defensive linemen the same. I think playing defensive tackle, you don't rack up a lot of sacks as you do as an edge rusher, defensive end. But Aaron Donald is the best defensive tackles I've ever seen. Not that I'm a defensive tackle evaluator, but it's Warren Sapp, and not just because he went to the U, and John Randall. Those were two very good defensive tackles. You're very familiar with John Randall. I know he was a Minnesota Viking. But I think that Aaron Donald is better than Warren Sapp and John Randall. And I think both of those guys were extremely, extremely good. Definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer. Another guy, I mean, Brian, me and you have been on this guy for years. It seemed like the media had just caught up, is Cooper Kupp.
Yep.
Then that guy, he's outstayed. He got a quarterback, and look what he's doing. He's just breaking records now with a quarterback. I mean, you get rid of Tim Tebow, you get Peyton Manning. People know who Demaryius Thomas is. You know what I'm saying? Demaryius Thomas was always good. He just had Tim Tebow as his quarterback. So it just, what a difference a quarterback makes. But Cooper Kupp is good. I think OBJ is a number 2 guy. I think he's still talented, and I think we're a good team. He can really help. If you're looking for him to be the main guy, I don't think he can be that guy. But I think he tore his ACL, so I don't know if he'll even be back next year. They were saying it could be an ACL. I'm not sure.
Who, OBJ?
Yeah.
He tore his ACL. But they do magical things with ACLs. It's the Achilles they can't do much with. And it's hard to get your speed back, but what they would need from someone like him, you got to remember, they get Robert Woods back.
Yeah.
Like Woods is way better than OBJ at this point in their careers.
Yep.
And so if you can say, hey, OBJ, go get healthy, we will absolutely bring you back when the time is right and you're back to being healthy.
Yep.
And you start your season with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, and by some miracle, everyone stays healthy through that thing, and you add OBJ. That's exactly how you get an opportunity to run it back, right? You have Godwin and Evans, and you add Gronkowski, and Gronkowski by some miracle stays healthy. That's how you win championships in those types of years. So, like I said, I'm not going to say that they're going to do it, but they're also in the NFC, which may be pretty empty come next year, depending on what happens with the Packers. So, I don't think Donald should retire. I do think that he's easily the best defensive tackle and probably lineman of our generation and in this current generation.
I know you mentioned LT. I see you're a big LT fan. A guy who I was always a fan of was Reggie White. And the reason why is because he tossed 320-pound men like they were Tic Tacs. I just couldn't believe how strong he was. He just whatever. But not to go off on that. But yeah. So,
agree with you on that, by the way. I got to see a lot of Reggie White too, unfortunately.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Green Bay. That's right.
I don't know that. I think Aaron Donald was like, even when it was thought, because they said the same thing about McVay, right? And at the parade today, both of them, McVay screaming, "Run it back, run it back!" When Aaron Donald's on the stage, and Donald was like, "Yeah, we had a super team. We can bring the super team back. Why wouldn't we run it back?" Which I figured was going to happen, right? And they're going to lose some players just because of salary cap, and cats are going to get big contracts now because they're on a Super Bowl team. Some cats are just going to leave, but you have the core, right? You can get most of those guys back. You'd be foolish not to try and run it back. But I think, every year is different. So just like the Tampa Bay found out, all you need is an injury or two, unfortunately, and your whole fortunes can change. So plus the Niners are going to be gunning for him. The Cardinals, if Kyler Murray figures out what he's doing, might still be all right. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I didn't think they were going to retire. I don't think, if you're Sean McVay, you finally get one. You see what it takes. Why? Who's leaving?
He's 37, or no, he's 38. Sorry, you got
Unless
36,
it's
37.
burnout. I don't know. Unless it's burnout. It's the only thing I can see.
Well,
Happen, but
he was talking about having a family, but he's just getting married this summer, so he's got a couple more seasons in him, and then maybe he goes into the front office or something like that if he doesn't want to do the travel and the grind. But anyways, it was hard to think that he at that age was going to retire. If he did, I would have just been jealous, because nothing sounds better than having been able to retire at about 38, right, Glenn? That would be pretty good.
be amazing. But I mean, at the same time, if I was doing something like that and I'm at the top of it and enjoying it,
Hard.
why would I go? You know what I mean? So I think it's it's one of those things. They're talking about it because Megatron and Calvin Johnson, for anybody who's doesn't know the name, and other players who retired early, but they weren't at the top of the sport. And
They were
Brady
all,
going out.
You
One of
mentioned
my
about
favorites, Barry Sanders, though.
I'm gonna say Barry
Lions.
Sanders and Calvin Johnson are both the Lions,
Right.
and they
Typically,
both
Cats don't do
retired
it.
because they couldn't get out of Detroit. So
Yeah, you don't.
Right.
So I don't see them retiring. They'll definitely run it back. I'm interested to see like what they do because their GM Les Snead is got to be executive of the year because he's been flipping contracts something crazy. No draft picks ever, which Coop don't care about that, but it worked.
Yeah.
They invested for now and won, and they did this when they went to the Super Bowl last time. If you think about it, because they had Goff on a rookie contract is why they got there, and they were trying to get everybody then. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't. We've seen I think people have kind of gotten spoiled or forgot what it was like before Tom Brady, that you go to the Super Bowl one year, you may not get back. It's not a guarantee. Stuff's a little different. So than Mahomes. So we'll see what happens. But good season. I'm sad it's over because football season is my favorite of all the sports seasons. Football is what I love the most. So now it's just basketball. Joy.
Right. Yeah. Joy.
Very, very excited
Oh
about.
man. So B, let me ask you, man. Do you think Matt Stafford is a Hall of Famer?
no, I think he's in the Hall of Very Good. But for anyone who talks to me about Hall of Fame players, I believe about 40% of the Hall of Fame players that are currently in there should get kicked out. I believe that it's become the Hall of Very Good, and I think people get a lot of credit for being very good, but not great. So no, I don't think Stafford is a Hall of Famer, and I say that as clearly as possible. And glad to have any debate or conversation anyone wants to have about it. Statistically, he's thrown for a whole lot of yards. He may be one of your favorite backup fantasy quarterbacks ever, because I know that every single year I would try and draft him as a backup quarterback, because if your main guy got hurt, you knew that he was going to throw for a whole bunch of yards because the teams always suck. But one Super Bowl and one great season for the ages is not enough, in my opinion, to be in the Hall of Fame. I'm pretty sure if we made an attempt, we could probably come up with several quarterbacks who fit into the same category. And the reason that I can't think of any is because none of them belong in the Hall of Fame.
B, you've had 40% of people not in the Hall of Fame. I got 60. So, so I'm with you, man. Hall of Fame's now become the Hall of Very Good. But I'm the same person who believes Eli Manning shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, and he's going to go because his last name is Manning. They say, well, he got 2 Super Bowls. I'm like, yeah, and he's only won playoffs in 2 years. The 2 years he won the Super Bowl. He's never won playoff games in any other year. He played like 16 years. But
the wide receivers deserve to go to the Hall of Fame in that case, because both of them, they had remarkable catches.
Exactly. Yeah. Matt Stafford, like I said, talented quarterback, good. But when you look at that body of work, even though he was in Detroit, and he had a good playoff run. Now he threw a few interceptions, a couple almost interceptions, but he won it. But I think I've always said I think quarterbacks get way too much credit when they win, and way too much, I would say, people get bang on them a little bit too much when teams lose. And in this case, I think Matt Stafford's getting a lot of credit for winning the Super Bowl. He deserves some credit, I will admit that, but I think it's kind of going overblown a little bit.
He absolutely deserves a whole lot of credit. He was most of these players were here last year.
Yeah,
he was the difference. But the 2 best players in that game, Cooper Kupp, who made amazing catches and plays, broke tackles, drew penalties that may or may not have actually existed. And then Aaron Donald, who absolutely blew up the line for the final two plays of the game. So, I feel like if you're a Hall of Famer at some point in time in your career or in the Super Bowl season, you are clearly the best player on the field. I think that needs to be a qualification.
Yeah.
When you think of the guys who are clearly first ballot Hall of Famers at some point in time on a winning team that's going to compete for a championship, you were the best player on the field. And if that eliminates 40, 50, 60% of the people who are already in there, so be it.
Yeah. And not just for 1 year, but consistent.
Yeah.
You're consistently a champion. Not, you don't have to say Super Bowl, but just maybe an NFC or AFC title game contender. You know what I mean?
I'm a Vikings fan. So I say that knowing that the first thing people would say to me is, well, that would eliminate a whole bunch of Vikings. None that need not be eliminated. When we went to Atlanta with one loss to Tony Dungy, had just left and missed a field goal and ultimately didn't go, which was heartbreaking. Randy Moss was probably the best player on the field. He should be in the Hall of Fame. Before that, when we made a deep playoff run, it was Chris Carter. He should be in the Hall of Fame. When you talk about Randall McDaniel and some of the defensive players, when we had good teams that went into the playoffs and always got to the NFC Championship and flamed out or got to they should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to tell you that Robert Smith should be in the Hall of Fame, because when we were great and he was our running back, and even though he was leading the league in rushing, he was not the best player on those teams. He should not be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's the difference between good and great players. It's the same thing with the NBA. You can like the CJ McCollums and all those guys, but when it really matters, it's the great players. They rise. What about GB? Any thoughts on this?
I thought what Richard Sherman said was like pretty deep when he was saying that. I mean, he just said the same thing as you guys, kind of like the bar is super low, right? And I know people say he's hating, but I mean, he said, and Matthew Stafford is good, right? So to me, he got his credit came right now. He's at the parade. He's got the ring coming. That's good. You know what I mean? Hall of Fame is something else. I mean, he's been consistent and good in the league, but say it was the Lions or whatever. But like Sherman was saying, no all-decade team, no all-pros, no MVP, one Pro Bowl, not MVP of the Super Bowl, never considered the best quarterback in any year he played. I mean, that's kind of real, right? So for a Hall of Fame, like an MVP, I think what you guys said, at least at some point during the season, being the best player on the field could get you, consistently, that can get you an MVP for the year. Hall of Fame should be, to me, I think you can't tell the story of the NFL without that person. And I, with much respect to him, but if you were telling somebody about football and you didn't mention Matthew Stafford, you wouldn't be doing them a disservice. No disrespect. Think again, he's done way more than I can ever do. So I'm going to say that we're talking about sports while he's doing it. I'm never will deny that. But now that we are talking about it, I don't think so. I think you have to be nice all the time. For years. When we think of Tom Brady, you start, okay, Brady's the pinnacle, but start comparing guys to that kind of level of success. Even, I know people say about Roethlisberger, but he never was on a losing team. He was the best team player on that team. He went to 2 Super Bowls. You're going to say all that, he's going to be before him. And then you got Rodgers and you got all these other guys who've just done it. I mean, I think he was the right quarterback for this team. He got a ring, and what else would you really want if it was me? That's all you need. So.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm not even going to get on the NBA Hall of Fame, but there's just a lot of, when I say Mitch Richmond is a Hall of Famer, I know people from California get on my case, but the people in other 49 states say who. So
it's not NBA though. That's where the basketball gets away with. It's the Basketball Hall of Fame. So they try and go for your lifelong contributions to the game. This is the NFL Hall of Fame.
Yeah, true.
Matt Stafford, maybe in college he was that guy. Here, yes, he's been good, fantasy, all that. But I mean, I'm not, I think there's probably, if Rodgers was on this team or any of the other good quarterbacks, they win the same Super Bowl. He was the perfect quarterback for this team, no doubt. But, it wasn't, and he was lacing some passes. I ain't gonna lie, because that one touchdown on in the end zone to Cup, cold, laced it, like lacing and passes. But sorry, bro. And who needs Hall of Fame, right? You got the ring, celebrate with your family, drinking Don Julio on the stage. You living, bro.
Yeah.
I'm going to make one real quick comment. Vlade Divac should not be in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
He's in the Basketball Hall of Fame?
What is he?
2019.
What does he mean to the game internationally? What did he mean to, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like lifelong contribution. Did he make basketball the biggest thing in Yugoslavia? Then that's where your credit comes in. It's not just NBA.
He didn't. And he shouldn't be.
Oh my God. I did not know he was in the Hall of Fame. I mean, for what, smoking cigarettes in the Lakers locker room before games? I mean, what the hell? Oh my God. I didn't know that. Didn't know that at all. Well, but yeah.
That'd be a conversation now. Well, I mean, we kind of switched to NBA. So the NBA is going on, I guess. I ain't watched the game, man. Did we watch any of the Warriors Lakers game Saturday? I don't even think
I didn't, because I knew the result was gonna happen. We was gonna lose. But
I think they actually played close. If I remember us watching part of it.
We did watch the game. You and I were actually joking around because you said that you thought the spread should be. I think the spread was 7.5, and you said it should be 14.5. But anyways, they played a solid game all the way to the end. The reality of it is you cannot leave Klay Thompson open like that down the stretch. I don't care if he's been hurt. You can't leave him open like that. That's what Klay Thompson does. It's still in his blood, and he made us pay with 3 straight 3-pointers to put it to the end.
Yeah, I was surprised we were even close. So they played
great. They played a solid basketball game, and then at the end, the better team played better basketball down the stretch.
Yeah, and they lost.
Which usually isn't the Lakers. Yeah, the better team.
Not this year for sure. So anybody who hates the Lakers, this is your year. But we got in other basketball news. I mean, Ben Simmons is off the bench, man. He's excited and looks like KD and Kyrie are rocking with him. Ben Simmons goes to Philadelphia. Ben Simmons goes to Brooklyn. And then the Sixers get like nothing, right? They got James Harden. James Harden's good.
Harden, some other pieces that they're going to throw in the garbage, and a bunch of draft picks.
And they traded away like hella stuff.
They get 2 first-rounders, Andre Drummond and Seth Curry, But, this trade, and I was thinking about it. I was talking to someone a few days ago about it. And, Kevin Durant, the end, he didn't really get along with Westbrook like that, bounced. Didn't really want to stay with Steph Curry and them, and bounced. From what I understand, him and Kyrie are not as close as people think. They don't really talk often. And the only reason James Harden got traded is because Kevin Durant wanted him traded, because they are beefing with each other. So I'm thinking about this whole thing, and I'm like, the whole problem here is KD. I mean, it seems like he can't get along with anybody. If I'm him, I don't know why you would want to stay in Brooklyn. I don't think being with a guy like Kyrie Irving, who's somewhat delusional in my mind in a lot of things, is going to bring you a championship. Now, Seth Curry is a nice player, but he's nowhere near the talent level of James Harden. To me, he's more of a bench player. And Andre Drummond is really, doesn't really mean much to me. He's just Andre Drummond. So to me, I think the whole issue here is a lot of people put Kevin Durant on his pedestal as being a leader and all this stuff, and he's not. I look at LeBron as a leader. I look at Steph as a leader. I look at a guy like Giannis or Chris Paul as a leader. I never looked at Kevin Durant as a leader. I looked at him as just a very talented player who has an injury history that people really never talk about. He gets injured quite often. But I don't see how these moves help Brooklyn win a title. I think, Brian, we were on the same page. We didn't think that all 3 of them, Kyrie, Harden, and Durant, were a shoo-in to win a title. I don't think we even said they would even win a title. But now that Harden's gone and the whole relationship between Kyrie and Durant isn't all as peachy as it seems, and he can't play home games anyway, I don't see how that helps Brooklyn, and I don't see why Durant would want to stay. To me, I would think he would want to leave probably again and go somewhere else next year. But those are just my thoughts. I was just talking about with somebody. I just see how Durant just, it seems like he can't really get along with people. But what do you think, Brian?
So I agree with a lot of what you were just saying. I actually don't think the problem is Kevin Durant, though. I do think the problem is Kyrie Irving, and I think that's pretty clear. When LeBron ships you, and then you get to Boston, and Boston's like, okay, we're not all that heartbroken that you're heading out. We can get you with we can replace you with Kemba Walker. Did better, and then you come here, and the reason why Harden was traded to Brooklyn, and Brooklyn wanted to do that trade and offered all that they offered, which was everything in the kitchen sink that they had to offer, was because they didn't trust Kyrie Irving. And that was before, the situation had gotten bad between the two of them. Kyrie was taking time off for mental health breaks. Kyrie was taking time off because he said, he just wanted some time. And they realized, look, this Kyrie Irving thing is going to be a little bit more difficult than we think. We need to go get ourselves a safety valve. Let's go get James Harden. We can put those two together. We'll find a way to make it work. This much talent. We'll be able to play the best one-on-one basketball that ever has existed in an NBA court. And, they won 13 of the 16 games that they played together, which is funny to say about a team that has 3 stars and only had 16 games when they've all played together. But I think Kyrie Irving's kind of the problem. And I think that what we're seeing in the press and if you read Twitter and all that kind of stuff, they all have their opt-out. I think Brooklyn is preparing to not offer Kyrie another deal, especially after this season and what he did and didn't take it on the chin and go get a shot. When that all happened, I think that they're worried that he might never be a full-time player again for one reason or the other. Because if it's COVID and shots, that's one thing. If it's mental health, that's another thing. If it's just he doesn't feel like his Zen medicine worked that day, and that's another thing. And that's the problem with Kyrie Irving. So, Brooklyn was gung-ho about trying to get another extension done this year that goes beyond, and they pulled that back. It's almost certain that Kyrie Irving is going to opt into his player year next year for what is it, it's like $47 million. Just as sure as Russell Westbrook is going to opt into his player year in the Lakers, you're not getting away from that. But I also think that once that happens, and once they make it clear that they will not offer him another deal, that they'll may be able to make a trade next year or this offseason for his expiring contract to a team that thinks they might be able to build around him or something like that. But I think Kyrie is the one. I think Kevin Durant, I agree with everything you said, by the way. I've never thought of Kevin Durant as a leader. I thought he was just the best basketball player on the basketball court most of the time that he's on a basketball court. And he's supremely talented. But I don't think he's ever been the guy who led the team or was the heart of the team. He wasn't even thought of as the heart of the team when he was on a team with Russell Westbrook after everybody else had left. Everyone always said that Russell Westbrook was the heart of that team. One thing that you can all say about Russell Westbrook is he shows enthusiasm and heart and that kind of thing. He's just, not a great basketball player. Right. But I still think KD would stay there. I think he likes Brooklyn. I think he is okay with being there. I think he knows that in order for him to help his legacy, he needed to go somewhere, have them build that team around him, and find a way to win a championship there. I think those were the things that are the most important for him and his legacy. I think he knows if he were to try and run to another place and try and do it there, he'll never be able to get out of that hole. And I think that's ultimately what's the most important thing for him at this point in time. So I don't think KD's going anywhere. I think we're going to see him there. I just think it'll be without Kyrie. It'll be Ben Simmons. They'll probably get some guard that is not a superstar but can serve the team, and that'll be like the way that they go, with KD as the centerpiece, with Simmons as your defense and defensive player and playmaker to a certain extent, and then some other solid but not great player. I think KD's done with the let's have Batman and Batwoman to my and Robin to my Batman all in one team. I think he's kind of over that. But I agree with you. I don't know that it necessarily works out because he can't stay healthy. And I don't even think the play-in games are a real possibility for a team that has one of the highest payrolls in the league, has superstars in Harden, who just left, Kyrie, who's still there, Ben Simmons, and KD, and they're looking at playoff games. Philadelphia looks like a real team.
Yeah, it does.
What do you guys think about Harden going over there to Philly? Like, what do you think that does?
What you think?
So I think that they didn't give up a ton I felt like they gave up too much of the draft picks and everything else, but I'm talking about players who are playing right now. If you look at this season, they were already one of the best teams in the East. They gave up a player, the primary centerpiece, who was not playing, and they get Harden, who is playing. So they added talent. They've gotten better. I mean, if you look at it, for players who were in the starting lineup to players who were no longer in the starting, or that are now in the starting lineup, you went from Seth Curry to James Harden. And while I do not like James Harden in any way, shape, or form, I don't like the way he plays basketball at all. He is a well above Seth Curry when it comes to being a solid basketball player that can help you win games. So I think Philly basically said, "Hey, we're taking our shot." They should start making some T-shirts that says the end of the process is near, because no matter what happens at the end of this season, the process is done. We're going to know, the results are here. We're going to know whether or not all the crap that they've been doing for a decade worked out, all the losing and all that kind of stuff, all the putting the pieces together. Everything has brought them to right now. This is their shot. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Jason, what about you?
Sometimes, man, when I go through Costco, sometimes Costco has deals on stuff that you can't pass up, man. You just got to get it, even if you think you don't need it. Like these right here, these torches I got from Kingsford. Got 5 of them. I can buy one of them from the liquor store for $1.50, but I got 5 of them right here for $5.99. It's a deal you can't pass up. When you're Philly and you got the opportunity to get James Harden, I mean, what you've been doing hasn't been working. You might as well you got to do something. So just go ahead and do it. It's a deal you can't pass up. Give up the first rounders. I like Seth Curry a little bit, but give him up. He's not James Harden. And give up Andre Drummond, who just seems to get passed around from team to team. And take your shot. Now, do I think it's going to win a championship? No, but we all know the Ben Simmons Embiid thing didn't work and wasn't going to work in the future. You might as well shake up the roster and do something. So I think Philly did the right thing, just like I got the right thing by getting all 5 of these. What do you call them? Utility lighters. Yeah. So
hilarious. We are not sponsored yet, but anyone who'd like to, you see what kind of magical product placement you can have. So
you know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, you do what you got to do. So I mean, Philly did the right thing. I agree with what you said, Brian, about Harden. I don't like his game at all, but he's productive in the league, and you want to at least see what him and Embiid, and I think Tobias Harris on that team as well. You want to see what all 3 of those guys can do together, because the Ben Simmons thing just didn't work. So I think Philly is kind of on the way up, while Brooklyn is on the way down. I think they just got done breaking a long losing streak too, as well, Brooklyn. So, but yeah,
I have go ahead, Glenn.
I was just saying they had lost like 13 in a row or something crazy. So, yeah, and I just bought a couple of those lighters, and I bought 2 of them for way more than that. So, good find, brother. Good find. Again, Kingsford, hit me. You can hit my email, or hit me on Twitter at CaliGB. Would love to do some business with you, as you've seen. What's up, B?
So I had this random question, because I think we're towards the end, and we can table it for later. But I was having a debate / conversation with somebody over text message. Has the NBA made the regular season game the most useless out of any sport by allowing 20 teams in the playoffs and only having 10 teams out of 30 teams that don't make it? So more than 66% of the teams make the playoffs now. I argued that it's baseball that makes their games the most least relevant, because there's 182 of them. But someone was arguing that the NBA just made their games the least relevant in the regular season, because 66% of the teams make the playoffs.
Well, I say the NBA as well, and maybe I think it's a good discussion maybe for another podcast, but I'm saying the NBA, and it's because the season is more condensed, but also, Brian, because stars don't play all the time. They take off. You look at the DNP, it's just rest. They're not injured. It's just rest. And that's why I think it's the most irrelevant other than baseball.
I was going to say, the reason why I think baseball is because they literally schedule days off. Pitchers pitch,
but they have 100
every 7 days, right? Yeah. And so when you go to a baseball game, hey, my guy decided that he wanted to go to the Burger King down the street instead of play baseball today. He's nowhere in the, he's not on the bench. He's nowhere in the, he's nowhere in the, he's just out on the, and it literally just says day off.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, we should definitely have a conversation about. There's
Yeah.
some other statistics and things that are in there that are pretty interesting. It came up recently, and I just thought it would be a interesting topic for us.
Yeah, but I also think though, the fortunes of an NBA team, they rely on NBA players, especially the star NBA player, a lot more than that star playing in that one baseball game. So if you have a LeBron out for the Lakers, it's going to be tough sledding for the Lakers. Whereas if you have, I don't know, a Trout. If you have Trout out for the Angels, they could still, win games. So especially if you got good pitching. But yeah,
agreed.
Definitely talk about that. Definitely.
Word. All right, cool. So that's our show for the day. Appreciate you guys as always for joining. Anybody who's checking us out, we reach our last segment, the minute to win it. I'm gonna just jump in first if that's all right with you guys. Actually, my shout out today is to, again, it's back-to-back Morehouse College love. However, this is sports related. Shout out to the Morehouse College volleyball team. Inaugural game just happened last Saturday, I believe. So we have never had a volleyball team, and Morehouse and 5 other HBCUs received a grant from First Point Volleyball Foundation and USA Volleyball to start a volleyball team. So the interesting part is, like, you have a lot of these brothers who go to HBCUs just kind of ending their career, right? But they played in high school. So when they mentioned it, they had, over 50 guys show up to play volleyball. And some of these cats were solid volleyball players from all over the country. So I'll be following them, but you'll probably see me with the Morehouse volleyball tee. You know what I mean? So just a quick shout out to the team and to HBCUs for just growing in sports, which I love to see. Golf, volleyball, etc. It's cool. Just adds new developments for those athletes. So shout out to Morehouse College volleyball.
All right, I'll go next. So I'm going to go back out away from sports for a moment. As many of you know, I work for a law firm, and I think very highly of our law firm, but there's a reason why. And this week has been one of those weeks where when the news cycle kind of hits and things come out about what my firm has done, that I'm so amazingly proud. So we do a lot of pro bono work. We do a lot of pro bono work in trying to get refugees and people seeking asylum, specifically from El Salvador, and going from the gang situation that's there. And the attorneys that work on these cases, they're doing it pro bono, and they're some of the best litigators in the country. And they're doing this because they recognize that there's a serious problem. There is this recently, they won a case, and I won't give all the details, but I just wanted to say it's amazing that these things can happen. A transgender female from El Salvador came to the United States, surrendered at the border, and said, I need to seek asylum. And if you understand what's going on and has been going on in El Salvador, you understand that anything other than victory is a complete death sentence. And so this has been going on for years, and they won victory, and this person is able to seek asylum in the United States, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff, and they've done this just tons and tons of times, and it's amazing. Next day, we're in the news cycle because we represented the Sandy Hook families in their lawsuit, which is all over the news, and against Remington, and successfully won an argument in front of the Supreme Court on the behalf of the Sandy Hook families. And that ultimately led to the trial that got to the settlement. It just rocks when you get to be able to say that you work for the good guys. It doesn't happen all that often, especially in a world where litigation is what it is. And so shout out to the pro bono good guys who are out there in the legal world, and especially my law firm, which had 2 groundbreaking cases in 1 week, where they did a lot of really great things for a lot of people.
It's good stuff from both of you guys. I didn't know more outside of volleyball. That sounds crazy to me. But my thing, mine is just it's just real quick. It's on the Lakers. And so I was actually thinking about it earlier today, and it just happened when AD went down with an ankle sprain early in this game. That's, I think, still going on. The Lakers need to trade AD. I think that's the only way we can get better. And I think that's the only tradable or a marketable piece that we have. I think somebody can think that he can, he can build a team around him or something, but I think AD can fetch a lot of assets and players, not picks, to help the Lakers probably try to do a run next year and maybe hopefully trade Russell Westbrook around the deadline time since he'll have an expiring contract. But I think that's the only way the Lakers get out of the mess that they're in with the personnel they have and decisions that's been made by the front office. I like AD. I think he's talented, but he gets hurt too much for me. He doesn't take care of his body. And I just don't think he's a player that Laker fans or the Lakers in general as an organization can rely on to help us win the championship. That's all I have.
Word. Hey, I can't even be mad. Well, that's our show. We appreciate everybody who checks us out and listens. Check us out very soon. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.
Bye all.